So it's.
I don't know.
You need signs?
They've done it at a award ceremony before, but it was just.
Seated, standing, with our backs turned, how do you want to do
I've been giving out this for Joe, Tim, and Steve. We got it.
All right, I got everybody in. And one more, just for the good measure here.
Rick, it has no address. It wasn't. Include the address. Include the initial announcement. No, I'm saying the initial announcement, we can have it.
You should bang it before you start speaking then, so that way
That's how you
can
said,
really
and I couldn't wait because I have to when I find this.
tell you.
We're going to call this meeting in order at 6:30. For all that can rise, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please. Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Russi.
Councilmember Lau.
Present.
Councilmember Crosby.
Here.
Councilmember Carter.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Present.
Mayor Hepburn.
Present. We have some presentations again. This is wonderful. 2 meetings in a row. Hello, everybody. Good evening. The Outstanding Older American Award. The Senior Advisory Committee nominated one senior citizen for the Outstanding Older American Award. This recognition is part of the Los Angeles County Commission for Older Adults 57th Annual Older Americans Recognition Day, OARD Awards Program, which honors a senior citizen from each city in Los Angeles County. The Senior Advisory Committee recommends that Sherry DeGregorio be nominated as the city's Outstanding Older American as she exemplifies the true spirit of this year's theme, Age My Way. Ms. DeGregorio resides in Laverne and has dedicated countless hours of service to this community. Please stand. And the pride of Laverne, as you can see, is our heritage with our citrus heritage with Laverne. And this is the pride of Laverne was one of the top brands as far as our citrus community here. So this exemplifies the pride of Laverne. Families that would like to come up? No. We're very happy to have you.
She's old.
And honest. Maybe you said make sure it's.
I'm going to have you just sit there for just a second because you've got a long rap sheet here, so I don't want you to stand too long. Recognition and presentation of the Pride of Laverne Award recipients. I better put my eyes back on.
There we go.
I don't want to miss one word. Annually, the City Council presents the Jack Huntington Award and also the Jim Scranton Award to recognize volunteers who have made outstanding contributions and performed exemplary service to the city and the community. Each recipient receives an individual Pride of Laverne plaque, and their names are placed on perpetual plaques displayed in City Hall. The Jack Huntington Award was named for S. Jack Huntington, who moved to Laverne in 1970. Despite heavy professional obligations and time commitments to the U.S. Naval Reserve, Jack became actively involved in the community as a volunteer. He was active in various local organizations, including the Laverne JCs, Little League, and youth basketball program. Jack also served as the City of Laverne Commissioner for more than 15 years, completing 2 terms on the Parks and Recreation Commission, as well as 2 terms on the Planning Commission. Jack Huntington was a citizen volunteer who exemplified the pride of Laverne through selfless service in the community. This year, the Jack Huntington Pride of Laverne Award is being presented to Sherry Best. Sherry has always had an interest in public education and community service. She began her volunteer career in the high school providing recreational services to children living at the Rancho Los Amigos Rehabilitation Center in Downey. Throughout her college years, she volunteered at Danbury Elementary School for Children with orthopedic impairments in Claremont. She continued her interest in special education as a teacher at Pacific State Hospital in Pomona. Told you it was long, we've only got another hour. The Magnolia School District in Buena Park. She trained teachers for over 30 years at Cal State Los Angeles. She is a published author who held office in her field at the state and national levels. One of her career highlights was traveling to Bangalore, India in 2003 and 2004 to help establish an early intervention program for at-risk infants and their families. Currently, she's the president of Laverne Historical Society and a member for almost 10 years. She is passionate about local history and community engagement. It is never too late to get busy in the service of others. She loves the African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I present to you Sherry Best.
Just for one picture.
The mayor says you have to. You got it. Get those.
Okay, these 2 first.
Get those 2.
Wait. I should turn this.
Can you stand in front of the security seal?
Yeah.
Better?
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp, for telling us that.
Perfect.
Get us-
I can work as a photographer.
Go ahead and get them. Here.
Yeah, I'll look paper.
Your rap sheet.
Yes. And more. Thank you.
Congratulations, thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. Can I have a couple minutes?
Yes, you can. You can have all the minutes you want, and I'll hold all your stuff.
Oh, you're so sorry you said that. I'm going to hand you this.
Mr. Russ, you throw in a time card, please.
Not yet. Okay. That's for now. That's for later. Yeah, that's right. I'm listening to the crew here. Okay. Is this on?
Yes.
You can hear me. Okay, perfect. Well, when I was notified about receiving this incredible Jack Huntington Pride of Laverne Award, I was asked to submit a short bio, which you just heard. And that's where I introduced you to my pre-retirement life, which was in the field of special education. Your professional family, you never leave behind. And I discovered that last Tuesday at a luncheon hosted by the Bonita Unified School District. A former student of mine from Cal State LA, now teaching in the Bonita Unified School District in preschool, received this year's Teacher of the Year Award. How gratifying. Yeah. I felt like a mom. So my life now revolves around my personal family and the Historical Society, where I found yet another family. In fact, the people I want to recognize tonight, who all live in Laverne, may have remained unknown to me, if not for the Historical Society that brought us together. Truly, this award is all about us. If you're a member of the Laverne Historical Society Board, please stand up. See? The society could not function without its precious board members who pulled together after we lost Galen and Doris Beery, and they took on multiple duties to strengthen our organization. You are the backbone. If you're involved with the restoration of the 1938 International Truck, please stand up. Without the leadership of Eric Chaputa, we wouldn't have started this restoration. Without teacher Rob Zamboni, we wouldn't have connected to the students at the auto shop at Bonita High School, who will hopefully be some of the first to ride in the truck bed when that restoration is complete. Without Don Hendrick and Sanders Towing, we couldn't have moved the truck, and we've moved it several times to where we're working on it. If you're involved with projects by the Laverne Historical Society with Hillcrest or the Bonita Unified School District, please stand up. Come on, Barbara. Our latest accomplishment, spearheaded by Barbara Smythe, Hillcrest residents and staff, is a series of videos called The Story of Laverne 21. Students can enhance their knowledge of local history through stories told by senior culture bearers. These videos can be viewed on the Laverne Historical Society and Bonita Unified School District websites. So they're done, they're out. Our projects will take another turn in 2022 when Peggy Redmond and I will deploy display cases of artifacts of the Historical Society in every Laverne elementary school library, accompanied by sets of information booklets. So we will continue student learning. If you helped on a home tour, an art tour, a bicycle tour, a walking tour, a University of Laverne tour, or a cemetery tour, please stand up. These tours were possible through the generous gifts of time and energy of volunteer participants. I want to thank Laverne TV, which produced the In Our Backyard series and kept us connected when we were shut down with COVID. You can view videos of many of these tours and presentation podcasts on the Historical Society website, including the mock wedding of Miss Lordsburg and Mr. Laverne. If you bought a book, a t-shirt, or marmalade to help the Laverne Historical Society, please stand up. All right. To sell, but it doesn't matter if no one buys. If you made a donation to the Historical Society, we thank you. We're a city of generous residents who support each other. Everyone, please stand up. Everyone. This is good for your knees. Laverne has come through a tough 2 years, but our energy is renewed for more collaborative activities and events. Now is the time to lean in, engage with the city and the Historical Society, and expand your family to include those good friends whom you want to know but haven't met yet. Laverne is full of those people. We are preserving old Laverne's environment and making history for the future. Thank you so much for this wonderful event.
Thank you, Sherry.
Oh my goodness, how you
Forget your
The important thing.
That's great. 2 Sherrys, isn't that great?
Yes, sir.
Jim Scranton Award. The Jim Scranton Award was named after longtime resident Jim Scranton, who was a member of the Youth Sports Committee since its inception. In 1986, he formed the Laverne Lasers Soccer Club, organization which provides youngsters an opportunity to play soccer at a highly competitive level. Jim also spent 5 years on the City Sports Park Committee, which resulted in the development of 35-acre sports fields for the community. He also participated in the City Women's Soccer Program as a coach. Jim is survived by his wife Susan and their children. The Youth Sports Committee recommend that a Pride of Laverne Youth Sports Volunteer Award be named in honor of Jim Scranton. This year's the Jim Scranton Pride of Laverne Award is presented to Michelle Abbottson. Miss Arvidsson, did I pronounce it right? Miss Arvidsson has worked with ASO for over 10 years. She's the director of the ASO VIP program, Very Important People, working with players with mental and physical disabilities, teaching them soccer. She is also a board member of the Laverne Laser Soccer Club and a Bennington High School soccer volunteer. Congratulations to you.
Don't sit down, why don't you get in with her? You want to
Come on.
get in with her?
Yeah, more.
Come on up. Pictures. Oh, come on. The mayor says you have to. Come on up. She really wants you up here.
Landon, come on up. Awesome.
Come on. It'll only take a second, I promise.
Good job. Mark, one more.
Here, I'll take it.
Get the mayor. Oh.
You're fine, Kathy.
I think that concludes our presentations. Now we're going to go to council meeting. Congratulations to all your recipients. You all deserve it. This meeting is adjourned. Because I can't see. Yeah. We will move to, thank you all. Thank you again. Do we have any announcements of upcoming community events?
I forgot to fill out a.
I don't recognize you. What's your name?
I know.
Sherry Best?
That would be.
Come on up.
Yeah. Now I'll take this.
At least he says your name right, Sherry.
Here it is, everybody.
Yay!
So,
Hold it up to that camera right there.
Right there, yeah.
yes?
Yes,
Yes.
perfect.
Okay, now
Right, now stay there. Okay, sorry. It's like the
Okay, that's fine.
It's like, no, it's like the aerial antenna. Coming in just fine now. Oh, nice. Well done.
Very good, all right.
There you go.
So, this is an announcement that we are going to be kicking off the next step in our fundraising drive for the truck restoration this Saturday at the community yard sale. So we have a card reader. We ordered a card reader and are entering a new age of accepting money. We are very happy to also accept cash, credit cards.
How about Bitcoin?
No, not
No
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin yet?
And not your firstborn children.
Oh, no.
We'll accept other payment, and so we're kicking off our fundraiser for the truck. So do come to the community yard sale. It's this Saturday. It's from 8 until noon. So we'll see you. We're in spaces 51, 52, 89, and 90, I think. But look for us around in that area. I don't have all that memorized. So just to let you know that's coming up. We also have on May the 7th, we're reinstituting our Get on the Bus tours. There'll be a flyer out for that very soon. And let's see what else is going on. Then the second Monday in June, We have our summer speaker who's going to come talk to us about interesting tidbits, weird and wonderful things about the Inland Empire. And hopefully we'll be able to have our speaker back at Hillcrest. So hopefully that will continue to work for us. So lots of things coming up with the Historical Society. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sherry. Anybody else with any announcements? Or do we have anybody on the roster? No?
Rick.
Mr. Bowen.
Evening, Council. I just wanted to report that the next Monday, April 25th, beginning at 6 p.m., the Laverne Coalition of Concerned Citizens,
6:30.
aka LV3C, is sponsoring a meet and greet with all 5 non-current City Council candidates: Joe Gatteldon, Rich Gill, Steve Johnson, Cash, and Estella Maldonado have confirmed their attendance. The location will be at 2104 F Street, otherwise known as Lordsburg Heritage Square, at the corner of 1st and 5th. The meeting is open to all LVC members. Excuse me, 1st and F. 1st and F. The meeting is open to all LVC members and all Laverne citizens. The candidates will have their own space to meet with anyone interested in getting to know them and for individual Q&A. We invite all residents to get to know these candidates regardless of the districts they vote in. I believe based on the new rules that any one of these candidates could possibly become our first new non-elected mayor. The candidates are invited to bring election materials as handouts and giveaways. Space is somewhat limited based on the size of the crowd, so please be patient. We look forward to seeing everyone in this interesting event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Anyone else? Seeing no one, we'll close the announcements. We're going to move to consent calendar. Have we had anything pulled from the consent calendar, Mr. Russi?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions from council before we go to consent? Then I guess we need a motion.
I'll move that we approve the consent calendar as written.
Second?
I'll second that.
Vote, please. Hold them. Don't fold them.
And that vote was unanimous.
Public hearing, is that correct, Mr. Russi?
Yes, Mr. Mayor? I can take it, I'm ready to go.
Go right ahead, sir.
Actually, Lieutenant Dransfeld will come up and give you the staff report, but while he is walking up here, Ordinance 1110 is required because of a new piece of state legislation that was passed earlier this year that required that the city adopt an ordinance regarding any military-defined equipment that is owned or is to be purchased by the police department in the future. So with that, Lieutenant Dransfeld will give you a report, and then we will ask for this to be placed in second.
Good evening, Lieutenant Dransfeld.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. So Assembly Bill 41 was signed into law January 1st, 2022 by Governor Newsom. It requires law enforcement agencies to seek approval from City Council for all military equipment listed under the law that was obtained prior to January 1st of 22. Currently, our department has in our possession equipment in 10 of the 15 categories listed under the law. Some of these include a robot, drones, an armored vehicle, breaching apparatus, and mobile command unit. Requirements of the law requires and include a public presentation, as we are now, adopting a military use policy and posting it on our website for 30 days, which we have done. It was posted on March 31st of this year, and adopting an ordinance. The law also requires that each year, an annual report is compiled and presented to the city council detailing the equipment used, a summary of complaints received regarding the equipment, and the results of any internal audit or actions taken in response in the preceding year. The total cost and quantity possessed, and it also must include any additional equipment the department intends to acquire the following year. With your approval of the policy, the Laverne Police Department will continue to have access to each of these equipment resources that are currently available to our agency. This equipment is vital in safeguarding the public's welfare, safety, civil rights, and civil liberties. Do you have any questions I can answer?
Questions, council? No?
Public first.
Public first. That's it? That concludes? We're going to go to public comment. We may need you back up again for any questions that may arise. We're going to go ahead and open a public comment. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak on this matter? Ms. Beauchamp.
According to the state requirements for AB 481, which, like he just said, went into effect January 1 of this year, requires that any city that's adopting this, making it an ordinance within their city, requires a 30-day notice to the residents. And according to the agenda, it says that it is on the city's website. I spent over an hour and a half. I could not find it. I printed a screenshot of the homepage. There is nothing about AB 481 or Ordinance 1110. So we have to make sure that the time that you decide to vote in favor of this, that 30-day notice has been done properly for the residents, to give them an opportunity to research it and speak upon it. So I ask that this council hold that vote until such time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Anyone else want to speak on this matter? Anybody on the phone? No request. We're going to close public comment and bring it back up to the desk. Answer that question there that Ms. Beauchamp brought up regarding the posting.
I haven't checked the agenda or the website, so but this is on the agenda tonight for first reading, has to come back for second reading at a future agenda. So that would be the 30 days.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to answer that question.
Yes.
As Lieutenant Draswell indicated, on March 31st, we placed the ordinance and including the policy on our website. So it is located on our website. It's available for view for anyone in the public to view. So if there's any questions of that, we'd like to answer that.
Your website or the city's?
The police department's website, which is where.
Right. It has to be on. Thank you. Thank you, Captain Gonzalez.
And if it was done on March 31st, 30 days, still is not 10 passed.
By the second reading and the adoption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, it's not on the city website, as it's stated. It's on the police officer's website, correct? The police department's.
It's on the city's police department website, yes. But it's not on the website where the city clerk information resides. That is correct.
And that's where it should be also.
We can post it there. It's been posted on your agenda, so we can make that change. Whether moving this to the second meeting in May, which is what we would have to do, would be complicit with the law, I'm not sure.
Yes, if I may include in that, to be consistent with the law, we basically look to the standardization of all police departments, and every police department within the city of Gala has put it on there. There is a link to some cities where the city would link the police department if they're looking for information on Assembly Bill 481, which links them to the police department where not only that, policy is included in there, as well as the ordinance that is proposed before you today.
Well, I think the question is though, is if we don't act upon this tonight because of the fact that it wasn't posted on our website, is that going to make a difference on us doing this tonight? as far as the time?
You can still act upon this tonight.
And still will be given
The
up.
question will be move it to the second reading and when final adoption will
Okay.
be, because it has to, it would go on second reading for the second meeting in May.
Right.
So we would be, that's the 16th, here we are the 18th, and this has been posted on our agenda since last week, so we would still be
within the time
consistent
frame.
with the law.
And then we'll make sure we post it also on the city website along with. Thank you. Thank you, Captain Gonzalez. So, okay. Any other questions?
No.
That clarifies that. Then we need a vote. Motion first.
I move that we introduce, waive further reading, and place on first reading the ordinance number 1110, adding Chapter 10 Military Equipment Policy to Title 9, Section 10.04.010 of the Laverne Municipal Code governing the use of military equipment by the Police Department and approving the Military Equipment Policy 709.
Second.
I'll second it.
Vote, please.
And that vote was also unanimous.
Very good. Other matters, Mr. Russi. Drought State of Emergency, Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-7-22.
Yes, as a result of that, we are going to be requesting some actions of council, and with that, Director Igo is going to be giving you an update and some of the proposed changes that are necessary as it relates to our water use.
Mr. Igo, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So again, I'll be talking about past and current drought situation, and then asking council to make a decision based off of the information that we have today. It's never evolving conversation, but at the end of the day, we need some direction to figure out how we deal with this current drought situation. So historically, California has struggled with drought for decades, and this is really not new to anybody, especially Laverne. The most recent drought was during 2012-2017, at which time City Council made a decision to implement Stage 7 in its drought ordinance, which was a 30% mandatory reduction. So again, this is not new to Laverne. At that time, Laverne residents stepped up, made those reductions, and we were able to surprise that drought. Currently, the DWR has passed some changes to their state water project allocation. They went from a 15% allocation to a 5% allocation. And for us, that's significant because 75% of our water is from state water project demands. So, for us, that's a significant reduction in our water availability. And NWD, via Three Valleys Municipal Water District, is constantly having conversations about how to deal with this. Initially, it was talked about going to a gallon per capita per day based on health and safety. That has evolved to a possible reduction of 1 day per week of irrigation. So there's a lot of changing conversation on this available to the city of Laverne. As of right now, we're hoping that at the NWD board meeting, and it's supposed to be held on the 26th of April, that they will be allowing this allocation of 1 day per week irrigation as opposed to a health and safety mandate. So with that, we would have to come back to council with an emergency ordinance because our current ordinance does not have that restriction available. So again, this is an evolving conversation and we'll be coming back to you with additional updates. So based off of all of that information that we have today, and again, I have another meeting with Three Valleys this week to talk further about this conversation. But as of today, we're looking at asking council to adopt resolution 22-17 and implement phase 5 of the water conservation use and restriction and impose drought penalty surcharges to gain compliance during this conservation period. What phase 5 is, the 20% mandatory reduction in water use across the board, and implements the surcharges that are necessary to get compliance. I know a lot of the conversation is going to be about how do we track that, what's the base rate. So previous drought conditions we related to 2013 usage. New restrictions based off of what the governor's executive order declaring a drought emergency is based off 2020 usage. So I know a lot of people are going to be concerned because a lot of measures have been taken over the years to reduce indoor and outdoor water restrictions, or water usage rather. We will have an appeal process the same way we did the last time we did this. So there will be a form they can fill out online or turn it in, come in here and turn it in however they wish to do it. The difficulty with that is they'll have to do it every billing cycle. So every 2 months you have to give them that same process because obviously your usage changes during the seasons. So there is an appeal process to go through as we did last time. So we hope the residents will, bear with us as we continue through these challenging times to the drought. At the end of the day, we all have our part to do just to make sure that we have future water use for not only ourselves, but for children, our grandchildren, and generations to come. So with that, I will answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Director Igo. Any questions before we go to public comments? Very much.
Just one technical question before we go to public comment. Just relating that, you were saying that in 2015 we went to a phase 7, and now we're going to a phase 5. Is 5 less than? I mean, certainly the number is lower, but does that mean there's less restriction than phase 7? But that's only an interim solution right now. Correct. And we're going to find out whether we need to become more severe. But so we're taking a moderate step right now. We're not taking a complete step.
No. So right now, the phase 7 was a 30% mandatory reduction. Phase 5, which we're asking for today, is 20% mandatory reduction. However, our current ordinances allows for 2-day a week watering, and I believe it's 5 minutes per station, up to 20 minutes for the week. So we're asking for, we'll come back to council with a potential ordinance change, depending on what the MWD board allows and allocates. So that could mean that once a week, 8 minutes per station. And so that would be dependent on what the MWD board actually comes with.
Great, thank you. I just want to make sure we're clear that we're taking a moderate step, not an extreme step, but more is yet to be determined.
Correct, and that could change in a month or two.
Right.
It really depends.
And Sean, so we're clear, if MWD does take this action next week, that will be mandated upon the city to ensure that whatever restrictions they are imposing, we are translating that down to the end user, correct? So if it is mandated 1 day a week, we have to come up with the ordinance as well as the enforcement end of that.
Correct. Yeah, and just as a broad, statement is what we'll be looking at is we're not going to say every resident has to water on this day. We're probably going to do it based off of, odd and even addresses so that we're not inundating our system with a huge depletion in irrigation. So we'll work through that and then we'll let council to make a decision.
So you will also be, let's just say, re-educating us, because most of us back when this first happened went to drought tolerant plants, ripped up all of our grass, put hardscape in, went to cactus, went to, are you going to assist the residents with information also from MWD with flow restrictors and things like that again? Because we need to kind of re-educate ourselves on this because these are drastic. I'll be honest, this is drastic. 1 day a week watering for people that have, even myself, for roses, well, that's not going to work. And I understand that we're in a serious situation, but just education level like we've always done, and maybe have those days where they can come pick up the flow restrictors, shower heads, things like that, and then explaining how this is going to work, and maybe some type of a rebate program. There's still a lot of people in Laverne that do have grass, and I mean, this is what they did before, and it's really important because a lot of people don't have the wherewithal to let their grasses just die.
Correct. So part of this is starting that conversation and letting everyone know this is where we're going. We won't see a lot of these surcharges go into effect until July. So it gives us plenty of time to do a lot of outreach as much as we can via social media, mailers, whatever, our website, whatever we can do. We want to get that message across. I know that MWD of the state will be doing a lot of that as well. So in partnerships, we'll be working together to deal with this. So, but you're correct. It's going to be a change in how we deal with this. MWD still offers a lot of rebates, so we'll be pushing people toward MWD for those rebates to hopefully help them not only come in compliance, but just change them to a new normal. Because the reality is, we continue to see population growth. We have to make those decisions now and change the way we do business.
This is far-reaching.
And this is not the city pushing this. This is coming down from the state pushing this. And then we don't know yet, based on MED's, until they have their meeting next week. This is just what you're maybe looking through the hourglass, what may be coming forward. but they have not made their decision yet. And whatever decision they make is now put upon us because 75% of our waters come from them.
Correct.
And so 25%, we get our water for 25%. How do we gain more percentage that we're getting on ourselves rather than relying on the state as much as well?
So part of that is we have groundwater rights, so we would have to either acquire additional groundwater rights, which is almost impossible, or we have to lease them. So there's options that are there, and then it also comes into water quality. There's a lot of different aspects to our own groundwater supplies. So we are always evaluating that and looking at how we can either advance in that number or we can deal with treatment, blending. There's lots of different options we have, and we continuously look at those options.
Thank you.
To follow up on some of the comments that the mayor made, I know that in the past, other cities have done, programs where you swap out your, if you've got an older toilet that is not a low flow, that there's, programs like that in place. And so I would just urge that to the extent that the city can provide some resources or some information. I know at some of the booths, there's been the tablets that you can put in your toilet to see if you're leaking, if the toilet's running, whatever, and wasting water. But I think if we can push that out widely to the community, that would be great as an opportunity to try to minimize our water usage to the extent possible. And I think at one point there were rain barrels, which I realized we don't have a lot of rain happening. But, I know that was an option for folks to have rain barrels distributed so that it could collect rain for watering plants or whatever else you wanted to use it for. But I think some of those programs that may have existed in the past or could be put into place. Let's try to explore that and share that with the community.
Yes, we will definitely have that. We also have our water conservation corner that comes out, and we try to educate people on what's going on. We'll continue to push that, and we'll give all of those links to how MWD, Food Valleys, and other local opportunities are available.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, and then I wanted to touch on another area, sensitive to the city, but a real irritant to residents when we're cutting back. We see parks, we see parkways where people's watering, the water's flowing over. How is the city planning on getting this information out to the individual business parks, letting them know, the HOAs, let them know, their management companies, and also the city? You're on timers, correct, for sprinklers, so that all has to be adjusted because the public watches that. Back in between 2012 to the 16 was a really rough time, and this community really stepped up and people cut back. And that's when we all went to a lot of the drought tolerant plants in our yards. So it's very difficult now to cut back. Let's say we have to do 20% now. It's hard to cut back 20% when you already cut back then. So it's kind of like a penalty for doing what you did back then. Now you have to come back, cut back another 20%, and that's tough to do.
Yeah, it is, and that's unfortunate. Again, that's why we have the appeal process to allow residents to work through that, and our hope is that we can accommodate the best we can. To your point about our medians, obviously those are drought tolerant now, but our parks, even business parks to that extent, we'll be working with businesses to let them know that they have to reduce those watering days and usage. Additionally, as part of the executive order that the governor passed, there is talk about the State Water Resource Control Board having to come up with an option on how they deal with, we'll call it non-essential turf. So for business parks, that's not a usage for areas for children to play or for sports events, so they have to look at how they deal with that. That might be getting rid of it. So more to come over the next couple of months from not only the state but MWD on how we continue to manage this.
Thank you, Director. I'm sure we might have some more questions. Right now, we'll go to public comment. Ms. Beauchamp?
Councilmember Lau pretty much said what I was going to say about the resources offering the toilet. I remember years ago the city did do that, and our family did take up that opportunity that the city presented. And as well as Councilmember Carter talking about timers, you have a lot of people who, that is some high-tech stuff. Even I have a difficult time setting that timer for time change and things like that. So I really would like to see something on the website, JR, about some kind of outreach or information about, maybe even like a study session or something to talk about this in more in depth, because I don't think people really understand how much 20% is. And there are a lot of people in this city that have swimming pools and or jacuzzis or both. So, and I'm one of them. So yeah, these are huge numbers. But my other concern is that this came down as an executive order from Governor Newsom and 722. This was not passed by the state assembly, and there is a lawsuit that was filed against him for abusing his state of emergency powers, and that case was won. And that case is now in appeals court, as everything goes automatically to appeals. But should that case be upheld in the appeals court, a lot of these executive orders will be nullified. So I would hate to see that the city rush to do something and then in the end it'd be for nothing because it'll be nullified. And I know there's a lot of money spent and allocated towards these projects, and so I just wish that the council would consider that before they make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Danita. Okay.
Oh, was that?
You want to speak on this issue?
Sorry,
Mr.
that was
Gallo?
public comment, Joe. No. Yeah, but if you just.
So I put number 8 on there, I give some.
I'm sorry.
Because I heard somebody want to ask, I'm sorry. So I'm not sure, I heard Sean's math, but real quickly, we're losing, we're going from 15% to 5%, which is a 67% drop. We're getting 25% into the pool from our number, so 75% was coming from the amount that's being dropped. So and we're accepting a 20% reduction, which leaves a 30% shortfall in supply. So is this like a Band-Aid over a bullet hole? And to Danita's comment, I think that I'm one of those people too that has the use of grass and jacuzzi and things of those natures. Before I go make a capital investment into things that might require that, I do expect that the due diligence is done. But if this is not one of those things that we're being asked to do as good soldiers, is fine. But if it's being mandated upon the community, to what Robin said and what others will say, I think we better make sure that this is something we're going to have to stick with. Because I do have some of my public comment around the idea that we rush to make judgments and catch up with the laws. But when the laws change or when they're questioned, I don't want to be, a lot of us don't want to be that person that undid our thing to find out that there was something else going on. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo. Anyone else wants to speak on this matter? Anybody on the call? No? We'll go ahead and close public comment, come back up to the dais. Council? Questions, comments, or questions for staff? Go ahead. We haven't fixed that yet, have we?
There you go.
Oh.
You need to use your right hand.
Councilmember Crosby.
I'm in agreement. This is a very extreme case where our numbers we've reduced since 2013, and taking 20% more is going to be very difficult. I made a little snide joke comment that try having 2 teenage daughters living at your house at this time as well. But that is a fact of our community and our families, is that we do have in times of our lives where people are using more water than others, and it is very difficult. I know in the last year in my backyard I took out my grass and put artificial turf in, but I've been already being lower. Now it's going to be lowered onto my already conservation that I've done since 2020. Is really extreme. I know we have to save water. I know we're in extreme drought. We had a good rain back in November, but then we've had the worst January, February we've had in recording time. So I understand more people, we need more water, but very concerned about us having to reduce, and we've changed all of our toilets most times. We've changed all these things to low flow. What I don't see a lot more change besides just not using water, and really looking back at that, and where it's getting to be really extreme. And with all prices going up too, buying bottled water instead of drinking water from the faucet, it seems like we're gonna have to be doing things like that as well as our measures. So I feel for the residents. But I do not want to see our city having to pay fines as well if we don't pass these things as well, and or what's gonna come down next week of any more extreme measures too. So it's just very conflicting.
Thank you, Mr. Crosby.
Yeah, I wanted to say one more thing here too, is the city has worked very hard on the medians throughout the city. And I have noticed that over the years too. And they have done a lot of the pretty brickwork and the stonework. And so that's all wonderful too. But then my question is, with all that, will the city be the one penalized if we don't do 20%? Or is the individual residents, and who's gonna monitor the residents? I don't understand that process.
So the responsibility gets put on the city as the retailer, the purveyor, if you will, but then if we do not push that surcharge or that restriction on, we will be assessed the fine. So it's ultimately the city that will feel the pain if it's not put in place. And if the proposed action that's being contemplated next week, the city doesn't take that action. Sean, our current acre-foot charge is what without the penalty?
Currently our per acre foot charge is about 1,500 to 1,800 per acre foot. If we don't do basically if we don't enact an enforcement component plus go enforce the 1 day per week, we could see an additional $2,000 per acre foot penalties. Rough numbers, if we continued on track even with a 20% reduction, we could see millions of dollars in additional surcharges. So we have to keep that in mind. And to your point, I get we cut back. We're asked to keep getting back. Unfortunately, if we don't comply with this, we could see millions of dollars in surcharges. So just like we surcharge our residents, we get surcharged from the professional farm district. So unfortunately, that's kind of the world we're living in right now with this drought.
I have one more question for Sean. Sean, it's irritating. You know, we get taxed today. I'm sorry, this bothers me.
No, Robin, could you please speak your piece?
We're taxed to death by the state government. They constantly, even the water boards, they constantly talk about after we have a nice rain or we do a drought, we're going to look at new ways to use the water better and to conserve and bring more water into the state of California. But nothing's ever done. We have the same issue every time it doesn't rain. And can we put some pressure on, such as sending a letter? I mean, what it does, I don't know, but send letters, to the state just saying, we understand the situation, but what's being done with our tax dollars? You're constantly saying, give us money and we're going to work on, solutions, but nothing's ever done. And then we're the ones to be penalized.
Yeah, ultimately that's really what it comes down to, is looking at the end of the day, we live in residents. So we have to look at how we adapt to that as a whole. And so whether that's through state mandates and changing how we live and reducing, gas and things like that, it's across the state. And so we have to look at that holistically. So I agree, we can reach out to the state leaders and say, hey, this is what needs to be done. We recognize that this is not going away, it's going to get worse. So we have to work together to solve these issues. But unfortunately, it's this evolving conversation about droughts here, droughts not here. And until we really address that issue, it'll be this evolving conversation.
Okay, thank you.
That wasn't convincing, Robin.
But with the lack of water, and we just had the windstorms in our trees, does then that make a issue with our not putting water on our trees and the roots having strong roots?
Yeah, that's a great point. So currently there's some exemptions regarding watering trees, so you can water your trees. I would urge and hope residents would not just leave a hose running 24/7 to water their tree, but there are some exemptions. If you wanted to water your tree more frequently than once per week, there are some exemptions within there. So again, as the state works through some of these mandates, we'll continue to update council on and the public on how we're continuing to meet these mandates. But unless the state or the Department of Water Resources change their allocation, unfortunately, MWD has to comply with KCAL comply. So we're all in that spot.
Councilmember Lyon.
you know, I don't really have I'm trying to bring some levity to this. I mean, it's rough. I mean, it's not all of a sudden like there's someone sporting the water. I mean, at this point, you know, it is what it is. The climate is what it is. So unfortunately, I think we're gonna see more of this rather than less of it unless something happens where we actually do see rain. But to your point, we live in a desert. I still remember Admiral Splash from when I was a kid in school, and that was the teaching component in schools about how to conserve water as a kid. So I think we just have to remind ourselves this isn't new. My friends from the East Coast joke that whenever, you know, obviously pre-pandemic when we were traveling, I'm always the one that shuts off the water as they're like running it to like brush their teeth, because I'm like, what are you doing? What do you know, and so some of this is reflex, and we're just gonna have to do the best we can. But I welcome the Robin's point about coming down on some of the HOAs, including mine, because there's so too much grass, and we're probably wasting too much water because that's not been maintained. So I would say, to the extent that we can influence the new developments that are coming in, that whatever they're putting in needs to be drought tolerant so that they're not impacting the city. I think that's another avenue we can look at as well, whether it's commercial or residential. You know, we do have requirements for landscaping, and we can mandate to some extent what that looks like. So exploring other ways to lower that or increase the amount of water we're saving.
Absolutely.
So, shower with a friend, do you remember that joke?
I was waiting for that. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Wendy, for the levity. It's nice to be married. Sorry, I didn't mean that in anything other than I have a friend that I can always.
Well taken.
Thank you.
Please don't say another word. You did well, just leave it like that.
I do agree that this scenario is crappy. I think that a moderate move as a precautionary step or a good first step, because just as we residents will have opportunities to try to advocate for why we can't cut anymore when it comes to city, we as a city may be doing the same thing with wholesale water providers. So this isn't the end of the story necessarily, but this also can be a call to start speaking to the state about saying, quit letting the wet stuff run to the ocean. Because we as a state have for too long relied on our water storage falling frozen and ignoring everything else. This last rainstorm that we had, where we didn't necessarily get a whole bunch of it, but Northern California got 1.5 inches of wet rain, they captured very nearly zero of that. So conversations need to be had, and we as a community know that we have a voice as residents, not just waiting for city council or for somebody else to do something, but this may be a time where we as a community might want to start speaking to our state assembly members and our state senators to say, what are we going to do about this water that's falling and running through these irrigation ditches that are going all the way up to the ocean. So I'm okay with this measure right now, but more to come, and some advocacy may be needed.
May I add to that?
Please, by all means.
Yeah, so I mean, as many of us probably know, there was a tax measure that was passed to deal with stormwater capture. So I would ask is that as we can, present those projects to city council, that not only council but residents will continue to support those. They're expensive projects. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, they're extremely expensive projects to capture stormwater, either treat or reuse that water. But again, I would just ask that residents would really help us, because we've been struggling to try to get those projects through from just a regional level. So as we make that ask, we just ask that people continue to support that here locally, so we can get those projects in the ground and start dealing with that stormwater capture.
Thank you for those bright comments. Appreciate it.
I'm just frustrated with it because this has been many years in the making, and we've all, like Robin had said, that we did our best the last time. It's not our best anymore, and it's very frustrating. MS4, stormwater capture, we're just paying lots of money for really, there's not a lot going on. It's very frustrating to me because I had mentioned to you, Mr. Igo, that the City of Ontario has got an enterprise program, and they basically have been doing recycled water. It's very expensive. It's not something you can just do today. It takes years to do, but this, and I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Davis, state and federal help on this, because this is not going away. It just gets worse and worse and worse, and we keep having to do more and more and more, and it's extremely frustrating. you know, and I mean, just right here, what we spent in water. If you look at the audit demands, we spent $427,445.39 from Three Valleys MWD. That was 362.74 acre feet. So just imagine what Mr. Igo said. If they fine us, and right now Tier 1 2022 rate is $1,127 per acre feet. It's just, we need to plan ahead. We need to all conserve. There's no question about it. And I think it's very important. We need to figure out how to do that, use our gray water. We need to educate again and again and again. But we do need to do it at state and federal. We need to figure out how to solve this problem. The desalinization, with their pipeline from Missouri over to here, something that's just absolutely crazy. But these other states in our mid-belt, you know, the southern belt, are getting hammered. The East Coast, they're getting hammered. Where's that water going? To the ocean. You know, we have our settling basins, which is very important for our groundwater restoration, but there's nothing to restore it. It's all in reserves right now. And it's just so frustrating. But I agree with Mr. Gabaldon. I agree with Danita Beauchamp. I agree with everyone that slowly, baby steps. But right now, the first thing is start conserving immediately. Go back, let's go back. We never should have stopped it probably when we stopped it back then. Say everything's hunky-dory. Well, it's not. We live in a desert. We're just down the street from Palm Springs. I mean, let's face it, we are in a desert ever since we were kids. So we need to plan ahead, educate again. We need to start working on recycled water, work with our state and federal, MS4 stormwater, how we can recapture that. It's just all costs money, and our little city can't afford that. But they need to help us to give us money in order to afford that. So if we do get that, we can capture it and restore it and filter it and bring it back to the groundwater so we can pump it back out again. So I'm not happy about it, but we do need to pass this ordinance to get ourselves going in the right direction. But again, educate, educate, educate. So we need to make a motion.
Okay, Tim, on that though, Sean, what is the plan of educating the community?
So like I mentioned, it could be social media or website, mailers. We're going to do everything that we can within our power to continue to educate. Obviously, the quickest is social media, but it would always point us back to our website because our website is going to have the most information. That's where we have our conservation corner. That's where we have our links to all the rebate programs. So we'll continue to push people to come to our website to have that information available to them and hopefully get that out there.
Will this go out in our next water bill to make sure that that's where it gets to everybody?
Maybe not the next one. Depends on how quickly we can get the information put together, but it will be going out in all of those.
If I could just say, if you could really focus on the safety and the safe use of gray water, which is sink water, bath water, things like that. Because I know a lot of people do that already, but how to handle it safely, what you can water with it, things like that. Because we're all going to be forced to do this.
Sure.
If you've got a bath full of water, it's on the ground floor, there's ways to get it out to the plants, but safely. So again, education,
Yes.
really important.
Agreed.
Because that's our biggest, between the toilets, between the shower low flow, and between the watering, and between basically, you know, instead of a full bathtub, it's a 1/4 inch of water, and you're gonna splash, you know. Or shower with a friend, that's my.
Been there, done that too, with a 1/4 inch.
Or go in the jacuzzi and get the grandkids and throw them in there, throw some baby shampoo on them and call it macaroni, which we've all done. So, but anyway, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Igo.
Thank you.
With that, we need a motion.
Well, I can't make that motion.
I move to pass the resolution 2217, which is the resolution of the City Council of the City of Verne, County of Los Angeles, State of California, authorizing the city manager or his designee to implement the appropriate phase of the water use limits and restrictions to gain compliance as required through the duration of the drought state of emergency.
Second?
I will second it.
Vote, please. Doesn't like the lights.
That is a unanimous vote as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Igo. I don't know if I should thank you or slap you, I'm not sure.
Thank you for bringing a very difficult message to our community. But anybody who looks outside knows we haven't had water in a ton of days.
I'm just the messenger.
You will do, and I know that you will educate everyone as you do on everything else you do, and you'll do it in a great manner and a fine manner so that our residents will be well educated on what to do and what not to do. We move to item 9, which is public comments and oral communications. Did you, Mr.
Galvin, speak under public comment as well, for 9.
Ms. Beauchamp?
B, then G.
Okay, with that discussion that was just had, that leads me into, if we need to cut our water by 20%, why is it that the city is so readily approving all these new real estate development in the city? I think you guys need to really think about that. My request to the city council is to have them consider this resolution, the Brand Huang Mendoza Tripartisan Land Use Initiative. And this is a nonpartisan resolution that's being proposed for the state to help halt the efforts of SB 9, which is part of a larger plan, which is for the redistribution of local zoning and housing control. Our city can't remain a small city if Sacramento keeps forcing their government and laws, assembly bills, and Senate bills down our throat as a small city. And at what point does this city stand up and fight for the residents that live here? And again, I knew the project that's scheduled to be built off of Arrow Highway, part of the Gold Line project, that project alone will meet the RENA numbers. So the reason for all these other developments, the city continues to say that it's to meet RENA and affordable housing, but we know that that's not necessarily the case. So I just want the residents to know, and everybody that's participating in this meeting, that the leading founder of SB 9 and SB 10 was Zillow Group. This is a group, if you have not read in various studies, has been buying substantial numbers of single-family homes and then holding them. Zillow, which you may use to look up home prices, has become one of the largest property owners in California. The bigger picture, in conjunction with Prop 19, which was to force older owners and recent inherited children to sell their family home because they cannot afford the property taxes. Prop 19 triggers higher taxes and is forcing families to sell unwillingly. These are large investment groups that are going in and buying the properties, such as the one on Amherst Street. So this is something that the city, I think, really needs to take a look at. If Mr. Essie or Mr. Kress can look at from the legality standpoint to see if the city would be willing to, like when the city voted no confidence in George Gascon, if they could do the same and say that they are in favor of this legislation to be passed by the state, so that going forward we can really reconsider to find out if it's worth approving projects for real estate development for housing specifically, not necessarily for business. And especially now that we're facing the water restrictions, I think this is something serious that needs to be addressed. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Mr. Galvin.
Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, I don't know if that subject is easily walked away from. I get everything Sean said and everybody said tonight, but elections matter. And I think that if people that we're electing into our state government are not going to do the things with our tax dollars that we expect, I think we as a city, as a community, should be better informed about what's going on so that they have a choice when the next election comes up to vote for people who will actually do something about it. Last I checked, water rolls downhill, and every single year I hear about snow and water coming in gallons on people's yards up north, and we seem to always get very little of that. So I think that's still worth the conversation for the city to have with its residents. I also think that when I hear the numbers and the cutbacks, I think about the damage it does, not just to what we're trying to do with our yards and things like that, but who's going to be most impacted. I think that the elderly community that we have in the city better be looked at. I think there should be some exception for any punitive fines that are levied against them. I don't think that they, in their limited income or restricted income position, should bear any of the fines here. And in addition, any fines that are levied, I'd like to understand how it is that the city will give those back to the community if we, in fact, as a community, do our job. On a lighter note, I just want to say that I enjoyed the cool cruise this weekend. I hope everybody enjoyed it and had a good Easter. On some more business notes, the Sierra Laverne Golf Course continues to be an eyesore. I'd like to understand more of what's going on with that as the summer goes, and with this conversation, fire safety, everything that goes with it, that is just something that has to be addressed. It cannot continue to go the way it is. The weeds are now upwards of feet tall. The gates are tattered, everything is in ruin up there, and it's just begging for bigger issues than we're dealing with now and the concerns we have. Additionally, with the train accident that we had this last week, I think that the city needs to do something about educating the community about what's going on with Gold Line and reminding everybody that trains are coming down those tracks and that there is a need for re-education on safety. And as a user of those crossings, I've noticed that there is a lot of confusion at those intersections relative to the signage, the line of sight, you know, everything that's going on, and the bottlenecking that goes on in those intersections and people trying to do things. So I think that that deserves some attention. And then lastly, I know that you have all received a letter that was sent by my wife regarding the state auditor's review of the RENA numbers. And I would expect that before we set any additional penalty in extra housing that we may not need, that we take the time to review that and do something about slowing our roll a little bit. And then particularly, is that going to go into the new, is it going to be in the general plan, or is it going to be in the housing element? Is it going to be reviewed for update based on the findings of the state auditor? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gala. Anyone else on public comment?
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and close public comment. Mr. Russi, do you want to answer any of, there was the issue about Sierra Laverne, which I brought up last time, that it's a mess, basically, and it's going to weed. I noticed that one resident that was putting the gates back up with bungee cords this weekend, so the weeds are getting out of control. The approaches I noticed on Country Club, one of them's broken over. The approach is in between where the cars used to go across. The trees are starting to brown up real fast, but I will agree, even the approaches around Country Club and Birdie are all getting extremely messy. The weeds are going out of control. The course is growing out of control, even on the approach on Golden Hills. It's just a mess. Their clubhouse looks great. Looks fantastic. Their clubhouse is really clean, as we talked about. Understanding that that's a private deal and they have weddings and stuff there, but
So
frustrating.
we are addressing the safety hazard issues, the fire hazard issues. Those are being monitored primarily by the fire department. The other remaining issues, which are a lot of the similar issues that you had mentioned, Mr. Mayor, we are having our city prosecutor evaluate, and then we'll be providing an analysis back to council that I hope to be briefing you on in the next couple of meetings in closed session on what approaches are available to us.
The faster the better, because with this weather, we're supposed to have 89-degree weather in the next weekend, so that grass is dying quickly, but and it's growing fast. But it's an eyesore, no question about it. But thank you, I appreciate that. It was mentioned last time, they're working through the process, so we'll figure that out. Council, who would like to start? Councilwoman Carter,
I will.
you want to talk about water?
No, I'm going to talk about the Gold Line. It's exciting. A lot of good things happening with the Gold Line. And we had a meeting last Wednesday and Thursday. I'm on the JPA and then also the Construction Authority. So with some information I wanted to share with our residents is that we had talked about the extension going from Pomona to Claremont. The funding wasn't there. So they're reapplying, trying to get more money from the state. The state has a lot of money in its pot right now for transportation and different, activities on the, for the state. And so they're, just from Pomona to Claremont and Montclair, it's $748 million they're seeking. They do have $80 million already with San Bernardino. That would go into it for the Montclair portion. As you can see down there, the start of our station started in February, and they're working on the platform right now, and it's just beautiful down there. If you see how clean it looks. Something I'd like to have everyone take a chance to go down Arrow Highway. Look on the north side of the street. How beautiful the artwork is on some of the buildings along there. The trees hid it before. You couldn't see it, but there's some beautiful artwork, and some of those buildings are just beautiful. You just couldn't see them. So I love how it opens it up, and it's very clean looking. I wanted to let you know too, it's surprising how many bridges are being built. Just from Glendora to Pomona, there's 19 total bridges being built. Now 17 are new, mostly over channels, water channels. One total replacement, one remodified, and in there too are 4 substantial bridges, or the Foothill Grand and Route 66 Bridge, Lone Hill, and Cataract and Bonita. Those are the big bridges where the train, the GO line, will be going over. The freight train will go under. So it's really exciting to watch the progress of the GO line, and the journey continues, and it's really something that everyone should pay attention to, because it's going to be here before we know it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Crosby.
Let's put some of that transportation money into water now.
There you go.
I just want to thank the Recreation Department for the Easter egg hunt, and the downtown there for the cool cruise. There was the most cars I've seen in years, and the most people I've seen down there together in years. So it was a great event last Saturday. Just want to say again congratulations to all the people that awards that we did today prior to the meeting and with our meeting. It was a great meeting today, and congratulations. And just want to reiterate what Ms. Beth said about the community art sale at Benita High School this Saturday. And then next week is reporting that Amazon Fresh is going to be opening up next week as well. So towards the end of next week. So make sure to go out there, shop Verne, and thank you for everyone. And today was a great day about all of our citizens that we celebrated today. So thank you.
Councilmember Lau.
Yes, so just wanted to recap a couple of events. I know I reported last time that there was a memorial for Ben Hines at Ben Hines Field over at the university's baseball complex over on Wheeler. If you have not had a chance to take a look at it, it is truly beautiful, really awesome. And it was really nice to see the Hines family come out and to see them pay tribute to a longtime Laverne resident who obviously has done some pretty amazing things, did some pretty amazing things in his life. So, and I'm a Dodgers fan, so I mean, he scouted for the Angels too, but we won't talk about that. He was their batting coach. But that was a very cool event, so appreciate everybody that was able to go out there. Also wanted to commend Chief Flores, who received the Women of Distinction Award from Assemblymember Holden earlier last week. Really cool opportunity and honor for our city to be recognized through the leadership of our chief. So if you haven't had a chance to congratulate her. We also have the Abraham Center for Veteran Student Success have their grand reopening at ULB. And for those of you that may not know, it was a passion project of some of the folks at the university and some of our trustees. One in particular, Mike Abraham, but this center really caters to our veteran students, provides them training and educational resources so that they can transition to civilian life. And so it was really nice to be out there. It's also a very beautiful site. They did some great work there. There's a beautiful barbecue out there. Band of Brothers was there. Some of our veteran students and others. And I believe they are planning a Marine Corps birthday party. So if you are a veteran and would like to know about it, I would say talk to the Band of Brothers or talk to ULB. But I think it's going to be a really cool event once that comes around. I'd like to echo Councilmember Crosby's congratulations to all of our award recipients tonight and on the badge pinning of our new fire marshal, full-time fire marshal in our 100-plus year history, so very exciting new things still continuing to happen. Also, a piece of fun fact for you, this past weekend for everyone who celebrated, not only was it Easter, it was also Passover and Ramadan. So that only occurs about every 33 years. So pretty cool that Christians, Muslims, and Jewish folks were all able to celebrate over the same time period. Just a reminder for those that are interested, there is a blood drive this Wednesday at the University of Laverne. So if you have not signed up, you can do so through the Red Cross or through the university. Please go and do it if you have the chance. They will be doing COVID antibody testing, so that is really important. And then last but not least, the University of Laverne's Scholarship Gala is taking place this Saturday outdoors by the, where the old chapel used to be. So it'll be out there. It's our biggest fundraiser for our students. It really helps many of our students accomplish their dreams and transform their lives. It's a really wonderful event. If you want to go, tickets are still available. It's the first time we're having it on campus, and I'm really excited about it. So with all of that, hope you all have a really good week, and be kind.
Thank you, Councilor Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to ditto everything previously said and just applaud Councilmember Lau for the extensive list. So I get to be shorter now in my remarks. Good. So recognized. They know where I'm saying.
There was 4 people at the mic, and 3 of them were Danita.
I appreciate people's support. When I say something that people like, I like to hear their feedback. So even if I don't like it, I still want to hear the feedback. So the one comment I'll make about the new sports complex is there's not a Tasty Freeze close enough to those 2 fields. Because when I was a kid running around on Ben Hines Field, we'd get to go over to 3rd Street, right across the street from the fire department, police department. That little triangular building used to be a Tasty Freeze. And so between a doubleheader, it was a great place to get a little ice cream. PVTA, this is on a serious side, Pomona Valley Transportation Authority met this last Wednesday and discussed the need and the interest in making sure we can get enough drivers to be able to drive our seniors around that need a little assistance getting to and from places, and we did a good job passing that recommendation and amendment to the contract. We had a fabulous time with community service and Rotary at Les Flores Park, and I know they also had the event up at Emerald Park to watch kids race through Easter egg hunt like nobody's business. I mean, it started before it started, and it was over before any of us knew it. So, but the bunny's still alive, and that's a good thing. And then we had a very fun time then at Cool Cruise, where I think it was the promoter of Cool Cruise, I might be wrong, contributed a nice, generous gift to the police department in conjunction with their canine effort. Was that Cool Cruise?
American Classic Cars.
Yeah.
American Classic Cars, right, made the donation
Canine Foundation.
to the Canine Foundation, right. Thank you for the clarification. I also like to be corrected, that's also. And lastly, it was truly fun to be at the award ceremony for Chief Flores from Assemblymember Chris Holden. That was a nice gathering and a terrific recognition of Chief Flores' efforts and what she's doing for our fine city. And then at the Mike and Sarah Abraham Veterans Center for Success, that looks like at the brand new party house. I mean, this place was sweet. I mean, it was really nice. So it'll be a nice place for a respite for some of the students at the university to be able to go and just relax and hang. So that's it.
I think you guys have covered it all. Thank you. I do want to say that to our new police chief, Colleen Flores, that was a very nice celebration by Mr. Holden. And I will say, you know, we talk about our elected officials, and Councilmember Carter's talking about the L-line gold line. And I came downstairs, and I was going out the fire department when we were done, and Chief Flores and staff were there, and Mr. Holden stopped me. He says, I haven't forgotten about the gold line from Claremont to Montclair. He says, we're working on, you know, you've heard it, didn't you? And so we're talking about a $780 million project. He says, we're not done yet. We're working on it right now. So, because then my comment was our brothers and sisters in Claremont really deserve this because they were instrumental in getting this Gold Line, Hill Line going. And so, and to Montclair, and then hopefully to the Ontario Airport. Yes. We get San Bernardino on board, which is tough. But anyway, I hope everyone had a great Easter. As Mayor Pro Tem Davis said, I was just ready to say his name at the Easter egg hunt, and I raised my hands, and it was supposed to be the Easter Bunny, and all of a sudden the kids started coming. I said, "Oh, well, let's go! You know, Easter Bunny, drop your hands!" It was over in literally what, 45 seconds? I mean, it was fantastic. The whole weekend, I want to thank Public Works, I want to thank Community Services, I want to thank the Police Department, I want to thank the Fire Department, everyone, Community Services. Everybody did a fantastic job. Our city was just full of people from other ones. I think my comment was, they said, you know, we really appreciate you being here to leave your money behind. So anyway, with that said, support our local businesses. There's lots of them coming up. We have new businesses growing every day. It seems like anywhere from 6 to 14 a month. So we're doing well, but we have to frequent them and make them exist and make them survive. And this weekend, yard sale, let's not forget to donate for that wonderful trumpet. So our next meeting is, do you have any other information? Wow, we don't have a closed session tonight. We are adjourned for our next meeting is May 2nd, 2022 at 5 o'clock p.m. for a preliminary 2022-23 budget CFP study session. Our next regular scheduled meeting is 6:30 p.m. on May 2nd. Everybody have a great week.